Welcome into the DGD Podcast. We are four wide tonight, joined in by our guys, Mitch all day, Matt Ducati, Dan Kiley in the building. Guys, we have an absolutely loaded show for y'all tonight. Can't make this up. We've got a bunch of stuff going on. Jaden Rashada suing Billy Napier. You've got ESPN dropping a post spring top 25, all types of stuff. And we're also going to give our 2024 predictions and some takes. Uh, since it's, guys, anybody want to tell me how many days there are until Georgia football?
97?
99, to be honest. 99 days until Georgia tees off in Atlanta against them damn Clemson Tigers. Noon kick, guys. Noon kick. Oh boy! So we got a lot to talk about, but first things first. Matt, Mitch, welcome in, guys.
Howdy. Thanks for having us, man. It's been a minute.
Yeah, I wasn't even sure these headphones still fit anymore.
Yeah, we ain't been online in a minute. I don't even remember the last show we did. So it was. I had the itch. I'm glad you had me on. Thanks you for having us. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah, Dan, let's do it. I know, Dan. It's good to be back in the compound, man. So why don't we just get started, guys? Let's start with some news here. First things first. Probably the biggest news since our last Friday. Jaden Rashada suing Billy Napier, and kind of interesting take on that. It's related to the NIL saga out of his time at Florida before he ended up going to Arizona State. I want to get y'all's thoughts. Dan, we'll start with you first. What are your immediate thoughts on the whole situation?
Well, the immediate thought for me is that this is a warning to every other school in the country that there are ramifications to false promises for these kids. Now, listen, this was never meant to be NIL was never meant to be a pay for play, but we all knew it was going to be, and now this is just another example of that's exactly what it was. And these false promises to the kid. But then on the other side of that too is if you're a kid, there better be another reason that you're going to that school than just money, because that money may or may not be there. But it's frustrating to me is that these kids are making a decision. Like, how about you make a decision about going to a school that's going to prepare you for the next level and make put you in the best situation? Obviously, it was a money grab at the very beginning, wasn't there? But like I said, it's a warning to the other schools that there are ramifications to false promises.
I mean, to be fair, it's almost asinine to think of almost $14 million contract over the span of 4 years. Some of the details that are initially came out, right? The payout structure for a high school kid was ridiculous. I think year one it was like $250,000 a month.
A month.
Yeah.
A month.
Yeah.
A month.
Then you hear by year three. I think year three is like over 300,000, and then in year four it tapers down to like right under 200,000 a month. Kids, dude, first things first. The numbers alone just scream idiocy, if you will. Leave it to Florida. Is all I'm going to say there. And the worst part about it is you don't get them. I guarantee you there's a Florida fan or a few that are going to spin it like, oh, well, we didn't get him, but we got Lagway. Just wait till this shit blows up because of Lagway. It could happen. I'm not saying it will, but I'm sure they probably arguably could have paid more for Lagway. But either way, we're not talking about Lagway. Obviously, I think it's fun to hear that basically Kirby Smart also gave his blessing for him to pursue that lawsuit. I want to ask Mitch and Matt here. What are your thoughts on that? I know Ducati's sitting there thinking about it. He's like, Kirby Smart just sounds like the Godfather right now.
I'll let Matt talk first. You go ahead, Matt.
Actually, no. And here's my take on it. I have since evolved in my stance and opinion on NIL and player compensation and all that. I'm glad everybody's getting a piece of the pie. But this example right here was one of the reasons why I gave NIL the side eye for so long, because it's not that the players shouldn't benefit. It's because there are adults who are bad actors in these situations and will continue to be bad actors in these situations with these kids coming fresh out of high school, dealing in millions of dollars. And that's what you've seen here. False promises, somebody potentially being taken advantage of, somebody missing out on what was a solid deal to chase the grass on the other side that turned out to not be greener. And now, I just want you to say this in your head. One of our backup quarterbacks for Georgia is going to be suing the head coach, Florida. That's not a conversation I think we should be having. That's not an environment I think we should be in. That's something that is for Florida. That is for Miami. That is for Tennessee. But I don't want the G mired in shit like this. Pardon my language, mama.
Oh, I was about to say, you ain't apologizing to nobody here because we be doing this for fun.
Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Like, this is the seedy side of NIL and the Wild West that we found ourselves in that I was always not in support of, because you knew this was going to happen. Anytime big money gets involved, it ain't the kid's fault. If he's got a case, he's got a case. But there's adults.
Sure. It's
predatory. It's predatory. There's predatory practices out there, and this ain't the only one. This is just going to be the one we talk about.
That's we're going to be the one we talk about first, for sure. But I mean, Matt's right, dude. Anytime there's a situation where there's large sums of money being passed around, it just opens the door for this garbage attracts flies. You know what I mean? And yeah, dude, a player suing a coach? Really? That's wild. That's beyond wild, dude.
Now, it is a little bit fun that it's one of our players suing the head coach of one of our most bitter rivals.
Sure.
And let's say, I mean, most of the folks that I've listened to, I say this will probably get settled. It'll get swept under the rug. But just let's pretend for a second. Let's say it doesn't get settled and Napier and those two boosters fight, and let's say Rashada wins and gets like a whatever that's called when you win the case, like
settlement.
Yeah, like he gets like big money, and then we beat their ass again. That kind of takes beating them like they stole something to a whole nother level.
You want to know something though? You know what? Florida fans can thank Steve Spurrier for this, because they created a monster when.
Yeah.
No, I'm going back down the rabbit hole, and if you look back at it, right, the history.
You hang 50 in Athens, and our quarterback's going to sue your head coach.
It's not. I mean, think about it. Kirby was on that. Kirby was a freshman on that team, man. Sure. Juan Daniels can attest to it, because Juan Daniels lived through it too. And he still to this day will tell you that shit was miserable. So you ain't going to get no sympathy from any of the Georgia fans. We just don't care.
Have any of you seen some of the Florida Gator conspiracy theorists posting online about there's a narrative amongst the most insane of that fan base that this was all Kirby Smart's design. That really? He instigated and orchestrated this lawsuit out of nowhere because we're scared of Billy Napier and the gains he's made in the portal and on the recruiting trail.
Oh, so that's right. We're scared of that Billy. That's right.
I didn't mean to laugh, but that's what I'm saying.
Listen. Bottom line, to your point, what you said just a second ago is once you get adults involved, they ruin everything, okay? Because everybody has an agenda. Like they said something on 680 The Fan today that absolutely made Chuck Oliver said today is like college football has become professional sports because they're getting paid, right? And it is the only professional sport in the entire world where the collection of talent, the gathering of talent doesn't go through any type of draft. It's we're going to give you a date, an arbitrary date, and at that date, go get everybody you want. It's like a gold rush, right? It's like they thought they're at level 10 or they're at like stage 10 of the process, but they didn't figure out 1 through 9. And that's it's so it makes so much sense because like they introduced all of this stuff with no forethought and no planning, and they open the floodgates, and we're in a complete shit show right now. And I don't know how it's fixed. And like you said, you've got adults involved now that have a lot of money, and I don't know I can't remember which one of you said you said the term just a second ago. Not predatory, but it was the other one. It was the nurturing, or what was the word you used? Or grooming. You have these adults that are grooming these children, and it's crazy. I mean, because you have a lot of these kids that are coming from backgrounds or situations. I mean, hell, even in my case, when I was coming to high school, we didn't have any money. If you would have came to me and offered me all this sorts of money, I would have listened to anything you had to say because I was that desperate for it. And I think that's the situation we're in. And there has to be some type of control. There has to be controls put in place. There has to be bumpers put in place because this thing is completely up the rails.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we've got too much to talk about to keep sitting here and dwelling on this. Ultimately, I don't think this really impacts Georgia in a sense of distraction. I think you look at it as I think this is a huge distraction for Florida, obviously. What perception does that look like, in Gainesville, right? Napier's already on the hot seat. Now you've got this to deal with. What's it, Micah Boro? I don't know if y'all heard about that. That situation. That shit
us fast
not
and
pretty.
furious, you buddy.
Which hold on. You bring that up. I have to bring this up because this is the most asinine shit I think I've ever heard when it comes to the whole Georgia versus Athens, Clark County. Sokovia White. Sokovia White.
The $26 bond.
It's infuriating, and it's not the situation, right? I mean, y'all have been to Athens. You know how easy it is to go down a one way, especially considering he's new to the area. But the problem for me was the fact that you arrested him and did the $26 bill. That's part of it, but the worst thing was the reporting that came from it.
That's what I was going to say. The headline was way worse.
The headlines were absolutely disgusting to me.
With the AJC get involved again, didn't they learn their lesson from before?
Chip Towers,
Chip Toppers, baby.
Look, you know what?
But
I ain't
no,
gonna say nothing.
but no. I think to me though, the way the reporting came out as if basically it made it seem as if it was just another incident on the belt basically. But the problem is no alcohol, no speeding, nothing of that nature at all took place. Just went down the wrong way accidentally went down the wrong way. The only thing I can critique is why were you out at like 2-3 in the morning? But even then, yeah, I mean that's way too late. I'm old headed there, but either way, there's nothing truly wrong other than you went down a one-way street. But then the Georgia beat goes out and wants to sit there and put this shit out like it's reckless driving. Like I get it, technicality.
Robert, the reason that happened is that's a narrative now. It's one of the few things our enemies can cling to, because when you're so right, they got to make up wrong.
But you get what I'm saying though.
It's absolutely pathetic that our enemy is the beat writer for that. I mean, I don't understand how he still has a credential. I don't understand how they allow that man in the building.
They asked that last summer when the shit really went down with the It wasn't the actual reporter. He got dismissed, but Chip Towers, the theory was he was behind it because he's that guy. They were asking, why does he still get credentials when everything the AJC puts out, for the most part, is a hit job? Or at least
I sure as hell felt like it anyway, if it wasn't, but it sure as hell felt like it. But no, I just wanted to get onto that for a second. That's something that just crossed my mind when we were talking about everything else. But we can transition to another topic if y'all like. First things first, though, make sure we got a bunch of viewers. Make sure if you like the content, like, subscribe, follow. We're on Twitter right now, or X, I should say. Sorry, Elon. X and YouTube right now. So make sure you like, follow, subscribe wherever you're watching. And obviously the podcast listeners, make sure to like and review too. It's going to have to bring that in. But I think it's time for our first sponsor before we get back to business. Guys, I start my day with it every single morning. It is the best coffee in the business, and that's none other than our guys over at Apotheos. Jason is a mad scientist making up the best coffee in the business. There's no question about it. I had every single brew that they make, every single batch is top notch. And you're supporting the dogs. Make sure you go to dgdpodcast.com, shop Apotheos. You go to our sponsors, click Apotheos, and start shopping there. Use code CCC at checkout. Get you free shipping, and Apotheos will send 20% of every single bag or K-Cup that you purchase. 20% of that will go to the Classic City Collective. So you're supporting NIL at Georgia Athletics as well, and you're drinking coffee. Okay? So you're getting damn good coffee, and you supporting them dogs. Ain't no other way to get around that, but that's some good stuff. Make sure to follow them as well. Apotheos Roastery on Instagram, Apotheos Coffee on X. Guys, it's the best coffee I've ever had.
Question
Personal
about
testimony.
that. I'm down for 2 weeks in July. Now, is that just a place where you can buy like packaged coffee to make at home, or do they have like a shop where I can go?
They actually, so I'm glad you asked that, but not so they have obviously on the line, but you can get coffee in bags and stuff like that. They also have locations. They're in certain Walmarts as well around the area too. So yeah, good call. There's places. Oh yeah,
Georgia.
Yeah. It's
when are you going back, Matt?
I will be there for 2 weeks. The weekend after the 4th of July. For 2 weeks.
I'm going to be down there for a week at the same time.
Well, then,
look at this. It's about to be
but yeah,
about to be a reunion.
I got that address. I'll go get me a.
It's crazy that we live like 60 miles apart, and we got to drive 1,000 miles to be in the same neighborhood.
That's just how it is, baby.
Times of fees like that.
Anyway,
Tanil, hold on. A good comment here. This was interesting. Before we move over, Chip Towers apparently said speed was a factor. They specifically said that it wasn't speeding, nor was he drinking. Listen, guys, it's not about getting it out first. It's about getting it out right. I'm no journalist. I didn't go to journalism school, but common sense will tell you that sometimes first isn't the best.
Unless that's your intention, is not to spread the right information to begin with.
Preach it. Guys, we'll move on to the next topic here. Scavenger hunt. Actually, nope. We'll wait. Did y'all catch the ESPN post-spring top 25? Did y'all catch that?
I did. Is that the one where we dropped behind?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
They still had us at number 1, I think.
Dogs on top. If listen,
somebody dropped us behind Ohio State. I don't know if it was 24 or on 3, one of them.
If someone puts Georgia anywhere past 2, you're crazy. The argument being Ohio State at this point, but I don't even trust their quarterback situation. So, just me. Anyways, here's the order of here's ESPN's post-spring top 25. In order from 1 to 25, you've got Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, USC, Ohio State, rounding out the top 5. Bama at 6, LSU, Penn State, Clemson, and Texas at 10. Tennessee, Washington, Notre Dame, Utah, and Oregon at 15, which to me was baffling. I think Oregon's way better than 15. TCU at 16, Oregon State at 17. Is this right? Yeah, this is great. Oh, that is 23. Holy shit.
I was going to say, damn. No, that ain't no way.
Scratch that. Thanks, Google.
Yeah.
That was a bust, guys. My bad. 10 hours ago. Here we go. Post-spring portal power rankings. Here we go. This is better. My apologies. Disregard. Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, Oregon, Notre Dame, all sounding better now, folks. Ole Miss, Alabama, Missouri, Utah, and Michigan. Florida State, Penn State, NC State, Wow, say that 3 times fast. LSU and Tennessee at 15. Clemson at 16, Kansas State, Oklahoma State at 19, and 20 is Arizona. 21, here's where it gets fun. Virginia Tech, 22 Kansas, 23 Iowa, Miami at 24, USC at 25. Sorry about that, gentlemen, and everyone watching and listening. You heard me spew a bunch of names at first for no reason.
I was like, yeah, those are all football teams.
Yeah.
The only thing that's like poking me in the face is the fact that 3 of them teams in like the top 8 or 10, we got to go on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody's making this big, and they should, because Florida's schedule, especially on the back half. I'm not trying to generate sympathy. I'm just telling you the fact. Florida might lose 7 in a row. I mean, it's brutal. But Georgia didn't get no favors. God dang. Texas, Bama, Ole Miss on the road, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe that's true.
Tennessee, Auburn, Florida rivalry games from the old. Come on now. This and Clemson to open the season. I'm not like saying this is Trevor Lawrence's Clemson, but it's still Clemson. Like
it's based off of a defense and nothing else, because I don't trust that offense for shit.
Right, we're not going to be, but it's not like we're opening up with Virginia. It's still Clemson. These people have won championship. I mean, they've got a culture. Now
I will say this. What surprises me, and I want to get y'all's thoughts on this, was Virginia Tech at 21. I think for me, it's just you haven't heard about Virginia Tech nearly as much, and then now you've got Brent Pry in year 3, and returning a lot of folks. But it's just one of those things where you would expect Miami to be in that spot and not Virginia Tech.
Well, hold on. Let me ask it to you. Like, is it surprising to hear about Virginia Tech, or is it more surprising not to have heard about them for so long?
I think, I think Brent Pry was a huge upgrade from Fuentes. But the thing about it to me is it feels like they've been slowly getting better, but it's still nowhere close to being what you would think. Like, this isn't from a mental standpoint right now, it's not your Beamers, right? Like Frank Beamer.
Yeah, but those teams were more highly ranked than 21.
No, completely agree. I'm just saying, but the optics of it, I think a lot of people kind of haven't paid attention to them. It's more so in a sense that, like, Virginia Tech, when they're good, they're good.
Sure. Well, they've had some good teams.
I think the second one was the one that caught me. Is I think you put that right. That they haven't been good, or it's. I'm shocked that Virginia Tech hasn't been better, because I thought that they were going to be a perennial powerhouse team. I thought that they would be one of the teams that the SEC or the Big Ten wanted. And the one thing that, like, when you're given the top 25, like, once you get outside like the top 10, what it sounds like to me is wah 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 wah, because like those teams they're also rans, and the NCAA has gone to not the NCAA, the Big Ten and the SEC have gone a long way to separate themselves from the other conferences. The other conferences do not matter. Like, what they did to the Big 12 has made them irrelevant. What they did to the Pac-12 is make them non-existent. What they did to the ACC is make them non-relevant. Like, yes, these first year or two, they're going to get these automatic bids, which is absolute horseshit. Somebody like Utah is going to have a first-round bye in the playoffs because they won their conference. Somebody like Florida State or Clemson is going to have a first-round bye. But if you look at the structure of the way that it's set up now, the Big Ten and the SEC are they're the NFC South, or the NFC and the AFC. That's what the hell they are, okay? And then everybody else is something else. They're the Canadian Football League or something, because those teams don't really matter. And
UFL,
it's not an inclusion. That's the part that people don't understand, is bringing these teams into the Big Ten and the ACC or the SEC is not an inclusion. It is a separation. They have separated from everybody else.
This is the perfect representation. There was y'all remember that meme of the girls in you could do either one, but like there's like girls and it's off of a movie, but like you've got like 2 decently looking girls, and then you've got like some just like just like nerdy looking girl, like completely out of place. Or even better, the dragon head, the 3 dragon heads, where you got the Big
The
Ten, SEC, and then just like, yeah, that's what that feels like with those two. But no, so I think Virginia Tech surprised me a little bit. USC at 25.
Yeah.
Ah,
I don't trust
Wait.
Ever.
Who's
22 was Kansas, but with
Exactly.
Jalen Daniels, it's not bad at all. You have to understand that.
They're 22. They're right next to Virginia Tech, and just down the street from USC.
Are there any teams that Are there any teams that we didn't list that you think should be in that preseason top 25?
Where was Kentucky?
I wouldn't put Kentucky there. They're not in the
hold
top
on a
25
second.
on that.
You think that Virginia Tech would walk the dog on Kentucky? You think Kansas would?
I just don't.
I don't either.
I see your point. Maybe, but I mean,
Missouri ranked.
Missouri was 8. I think I think Missouri will regress as the season goes on. They do have somewhat of a
because they don't have Cody Schrader.
But they've also got an easy schedule. They got an easy.
Why aren't we investigating that?
Yeah, that kid was too good. Good.
I think I'm gonna bring a case in New York over the fact that Cody Schrader wasn't freaking drafted. The Shredder. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, the Shredder,
Master
Shredder.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. I'm trying to look at other schools here. Maybe it's a shame that Colorado isn't there. I mean, all the hype on them.
You know what?
You're not buying the hype.
No, we ain't fit to do that tonight unless you want to do it. And then
no, I'm not doing that.
I'll give you smoke.
I'm good.
Well,
all I know is when they played Colorado State last year on national television, then people went on and said, "Welcome to the epicenter of college football."
Jesus Christ! And then they
just about threw my bush light at that screen.
Dan, I got you. And then Ashton Daniels proceeds to throw for 396, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, and upsets Colorado in Boulder. Mm-hmm. You're welcome. You are welcome.
Basically one receiver on the same play.
For a whole half, cooking Travis Hunter. Yeah, it was like 200 plus yards. Yeah.
Roasted him.
Yeah, that was – I don't think y'all understand. Colin Juan Daniels at 2:30 in the morning that night was perfect. You have to understand, he was there in Boulder.
Here is something to consider about Colorado. They did beat TCU last year, and I believe TCU's name got called on that list, right?
No.
Oh, that was the original 2023 Google results.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, but yeah, no, I thought that was. I mean, Georgia being number 1, and you'll see why I think we're all in agreement. Georgia's going to be number 1, and it makes sense. But I do want to talk some recruiting. Obviously, we had the scavenger hunt this past weekend. We talked about the list of folks coming in, and some initial takeaways for me. And I looked at it this way. I think all eyes were on David Sanders, and I think he did about as good as possible on that visit with him and his family there. I'm going to tell you right now, the MVP for this weekend at the scavenger hunt, Mason Short. Buddy recruited his ass off. I'm talking you hosting or basically walking around and trying to recruit Zaire Addison and David Sanders. And I think you made a good move with David Sanders. Still not comfortable to say he's going to be Georgia, but I think you put yourself firmly in the mix, and you'll just have to see what happens. Obviously, had some big names there. Zayden Walker being a big name, 5-star guy about to be committing in July 5th. And honestly, him coming back May 31st for a visit it's a big deal for me. I think it is. Let's see some other things. I think out of this weekend, I think you made a lot of leeway. You didn't get no commits out of this, right? You didn't get no commits, but I will say you made a lot of good moves. You did. Um, you got to give it some time, but I think you're going to see it trickle into, being a lot of good news for Georgia. So,
So Robert, the other day, Matt called me at work, and he was like, "Hey man, did you see this? Did you see this Rashada news?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I saw that headline." And he says, "Oh, you don't seem too excited about that." And I said, "Well, dude, I mean, honestly, man, the headlines we're getting Jacoby White, we're getting Jaden Rashada, we're getting this monumental lawsuit thing that just went down. Um, I and he said, what? I said, dude, these headlines are, I don't know, man, they're killing my soul." He's like, "Well, what do you think is gonna? What kind of headlines do you want to see? To bring you back?" And I was like, "Dude, I want to hear recruiting news. I want to hear Georgia just locked up this amazing 5-star talent, whatever. I need to hear that kind of stuff again."
mhm.
So
Well,
it's interesting that the trajectory of the show is just sort of taking the trajectory of my brain the past few months. Um,
well, yeah, that made
when
sense.
when will I be better, Robert?
I
When
mean,
will I feel better?
first things first. If you look at the month of July, good Lord, it is setting up for arguably a huge month for Georgia. If you look at specifically July 20th, you've got three recruits announcing their commitment, and all of them have Georgia there squarely in the mix. You got Cortez Smith, offensive lineman. You've got um, Christian Garrett from Prince Ave, and then you've got Bryce Davis up here in Greensboro. All three of them have a good shot at possibly being a Georgia Bulldog on the 20th. So if Georgia goes 3 for 3 that day, I think there's your concerns. Um, I mean, you've got some big time commits spread out throughout July. Um, well, I think start. I know we said Zayden Walker July 5th, Travis Smith 13th of July. And then, like I said, the 20th, you've got three. Speaking of, Bryce Davis, cut his list to three. So you're looking at Georgia, Clemson, Duke. If you followed the Patreon, I've been talking about this for months now. So it's not a surprise if you've been listening and if you tuned into the Patreon, patreon.com/DGD Podcast. But we've been talking about that. And honestly, you've got May 31st visit for Bryce going to Clemson, and then June 14th, I think it is. I think it's 14th. In the middle of June, you've got a Georgia visit. Now he doesn't have anything set for Duke yet in regards to an official visit, but you got to understand, being from Greensboro, it's only like a 45-minute drive to Durham, so it's extremely easy to set up an OV there. So he doesn't have anything right there. My opinion, I think it's a Georgia Clemson battle, and I'm feeling pretty confident that I think Georgia lands them 20th. That's just me. Let's see. And then Christian Garrett. I'd love to see Christian Garrett in this D-line class. Cortez Smith on the offensive line. I think that's another name in this, in the state of Georgia, that you need. I think you could definitely use them. That's just some of the commitments. Now, at the same time, Dan, there's some kids up in Georgia that's been getting offers. You had one specifically that you wanted to talk about, and that was actually a current Alabama commit, if I'm not mistaken.
4-star linebacker Luke Metz out of Mill Creek, which I've known this kid since he was 6 years old. He's a hell of a football player, extremely aggressive, big, strong, fast, all of the above. He didn't get the Georgia offer really early. It's been his dream school forever, never, never, amen, to go to Alabama. It's been his favorite school his whole life. But he gets the Georgia offer. Kirby comes out to the school on a Thursday of spring practice week and makes the offer in person. From what I understand, it was inside the building that they were really pushing for that they wanted that offer, and they got it out to him. And I haven't talked to Luke about it, but I know that they feel like Georgia feels like that they have a chance to flip him over. But hopefully talk to Luke soon. see what he thinks about it. But a lot of times he doesn't want me to say anything about anything, so I don't. But
Yeah, that's
I
typically that's how that typically goes.
but I
When
just
you talk.
I think it would be a good get for Georgia if they were able to get him. I know there are a lot of people in the industry that haven't been high on Luke, but the biggest thing you have to understand about Luke is Luke doesn't camp, and that's why he was kind of late on the scene. I think people really took notice of who Luke is and what Luke is when they saw him play against Buford on ESPN. I think that woke a lot of people up when he was out there. He split Dylan, what's his face, the quarterback,
Raiola.
Right? Yeah, he split him in half. I mean, the funniest story
that
about
was
that.
Yeah,
The funniest story about that was I asked Luke about that. I was like, man, that's a hell of a hit, Luke. And he said, you know what that felt like? I said, what's that? He said, it felt like hitting a concrete post. I mean, Luke gave him his roses. I mean, when Luke was 9 years old, he hit a kid so hard it echoed in the stadium, and that kid had to be taken out in the ambulance. I've never seen a kid that hits harder than Luke. And when he hit Dylan Raiola, he was like, hitting that kid's like hitting a freaking like concrete post. He said it hurt like hell to hit him. I
believe it.
But yeah, I think a lot of people figured out who he was on that night, and he's a hell of a linebacker. Like to me, me personally, I always felt like Luke would be a perfect fit at Michigan because of like they're just big, big strong guys or whatever.
You talk from a linebacker's perspective, right? Maybe Ohio State too. Well, back in the day, Ohio State, like Urban Meyer, Ohio State, yeah.
It's like Luke is 6'4", 225, 230 right in there right now, but he's probably going to end up being 6'5", and like I could see somebody like Michigan turning him into an Aiden Hutchinson, and I just don't know if a player like that fits at Georgia or Alabama, to be completely honest. But Luke is a hell of an athlete, dude. Like, I mean,
yeah.
But I think the thing that scares a lot of people is the Nate McBride, right? Nate McBride was the number one linebacker in the country, and he went to Georgia and didn't do shit. So
special. No, we ain't gonna have no Nate slander here. I will say this. Listen, special teams.
I'm not mad at him.
No, I know. In comparison to the expectations that you have set, it's a little bit underachieving.
I think Mitch and I had dedicated entire shows to where is Nate McBride.
And I will say this,
but not in a mean way. Like, hey, we need, like, come on. We were all like jacked up when you committed. This wasn't a slight. This was like a, hey, can y'all turn this guy loose? Because y'all told us this was like the second coming of Brian Bosworth.
When we did the same thing for Dominic Blaylock too. Right?
I'm gonna defend Nate McBride when you have guys like Monty Rice and Nakobe Dean and all these guys coming in. It's hard to get over those guys. I'm not saying it's even as an upperclassman, I get it.
Yeah, Nakobe Dean was. There is no trouble, gentlemen. We have no trouble up here at all talking Georgia football with anyone who's a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles. They want to know more. Tell us more. Let's talk. We're now brothers. Like, it's a serious thing. Like, if I flash the G in Philly, people are like, "What's up, baby? You come on." It's easy.
They're like,
I'll say this.
Y'all got any more of them linebackers?
They start spitting stats at me about our players that I didn't know. I'm like, "What on y'all, man?"
I'll say this though. There's so obviously I'm gonna get back to Bryce for a second. So I think for me, like I said, I feel confident that I think he's going to end up at Georgia. I will say though, when Clemson has that first official visit weekend, guys, keep in mind the power of those weekends at Clemson, because we know what they do, right? They will try to peer pressure kids into commitments. So it's worth watching to make sure that the official visit sticks, okay? If it does, feel good about it. I'm just going to let that be known. Just let it be known. But I will say this: at 6'3", he's about 250 right now, just getting out of spring practice. And he's put on some muscle mass and thickness. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Dude, that Grimsley squad is about to be ridiculous because you've got Bryce Davis, and then you've got Faison, right? Faison leading the helm there, number 1 overall player in 2026. That Grimsley school is about to be nuts this fall. Best believe I need to go out there and try to watch Rollsville, or not Rollsville, Mount Tabor. I'd love to see Mount Tabor week 1. There's some kids in this 25 in this state that's there, and the 26 class is even better. 26 is silly in the state of North Carolina, guys. Just gonna let y'all know. 26 is silly. Speaking of 26, Georgia actually offered Samari Matthews smoke up here out of Huff, out right around the Charlotte area this week, and I was talking with him. That was a big offer. That's a big time offer. I actually got an offer afterwards from Duke the same day. So I was kind of picking around. It's like, why did it take Duke so long to offer? Like, typically they're locked in with in-state kids, and it took them a long time. But no, so it was fun to talk to him. He had actually went to, I think he was a freshman and went to the spring game. So he's been down to Athens before, but I'm expecting him to go probably during the summer at some point, maybe. Keep in mind he's 2026, so you're not really able to do OVs just yet. But I would expect Georgia to be firmly in the mix there. I mean, like 6 foot. He's probably like 180, 185 right now. I think he's pushing to try to be 185, 190 come the junior season. I'm expecting probably around 195 to 200 range by the time that he's graduating high school, which is prototypical at 6 feet, about 190, 200. That's prototypical Kirby Smart, what they're looking for in a DB. It was actually ironic that Trey Scott sent the offer. Trey Scott was up in the area, sent him the offer. Actually offered Rodney Dunham out of Myers Park, 2026 edge rusher. So both of those guys got an offer that day. It's fun to watch a bunch of schools come around and make their rounds, getting offers and throwing offers at kids around the state. So it's fun to see that. But I would expect to keep that name in there, just because, right, for 26, we don't know how that looks just yet. I would definitely say that's a name to kind of keep in mind, just stash back and ready to go for 26 class.
So you're telling me that we might actually have a smoke that plays in Athens.
Oh, too soon.
Never too soon. Never too soon. I ain't gonna go as far as to say that because it's still early for him. Still early. I would expect him to probably start cutting his list down during the season. Kind of typical, right? 20, like year 26, your next year's class. So you'll probably try to be done by the time his senior year starts, I would assume. But
if he were, he would be the first smoke.
The first smoke.
Probably. Yeah, I guess you could say that then if that's the case, if he did. But yeah, I just wanted to shout out some recruiting there. Guys, let's get into these predictions. But first, let's drop our second sponsor of the night, our friends over at Alumni Hall. Guys, get yourselves geared. Like I said, 99 days until we kick Clemson's ass in Atlanta. So you have 99 days to go to Alumni Hall. Get yourself some gear. If you want to go to Athens, Georgia, and you want to go to the brick and mortar store, go there, get your stuff, mention the show, you'll get 10% off. If you're online, if you can't go to the store, go to dgdpodcast.com. It has to be our website, and I'll explain why. Go to our website, dgdpodcast.com. Shop Alumni Hall and the sponsors. Use our links on our website, and if you place an order, 8%, the DGD Podcast will send 8% to the Classic City Collective for you for supporting us and Alumni Hall. Make sure to give them a follow on their socials at Alumni Hall UGA. Licensed Nike, Cutter Buck, apparel, all the types of stuff. Make sure to shop Alumni Hall. Get yourself ready for game day. Now, predictions, gentlemen. 2024 season. Overall, I think we're feeling pretty confident heading into the season, even with the slate of games on the road that we've got. This segment is, again, predictions. Any kind of bold predictions you want to make, any kind of takes you want to make. Now is the time to let them things out. Also, if you're watching, drop us your predictions, okay? Drop us your predictions. Do you get held to them? We probably will. All right? Just it is what it is. We understand it's way too early. but it's never too early to sit there and hold our feet to the fire because we were bold enough to come on camera and tell you our predictions. So, with that being said, let's do this. I'll start first, and we'll kind of work our way around whoever wants to do it. I am most excited to see Michael Williams. Michael Williams moving to Jack, I think will be huge for not only for Michael, but for the defense as a whole. It will be huge, and it's going to pay dividends. I'm just going to leave that there. I'm most excited for that.
I think it needs to be huge. I've been telling Matt, I said I'm not worried about anything at all, except our ability to affect the passer. That's the thing that I'm worried about with this team. Now, will that happen with Michael's change? Maybe. Will some of these younger guys come along, down in the trenches? Maybe. You know what I mean? But I haven't seen it yet, and so that's what I'm looking for. If we go out and throw 8 touchdown passes, and run for 5,000 yards, that's all well and good. But I need to see us putting some quarterbacks on their butts. That's just where I am right now.
Yeah. No, Dan, do you have any kind of predictions you want to give or anything like that?
My prediction is this is going to be the very best offensive line in the country this year. I think that's that. I mean, it's hard to quantify that, obviously, but I think it's going to be one of the best offensive line. I would say Carson Beck takes less than 7 sacks this year, which would be pretty incredible if you actually think about that. And I'm just throwing some shots out there, guys. Just throwing some shots, okay? And then my other one would be because of the talented offensive line, because of how good our quarterback is and how he could threaten you down the field, I feel like ETN has a chance to go for 1,000 yards this year. So
yeah, that would be
that's saucy, right, boys? That's saucy. Listen, I didn't come out here with some bullshit. I came out here firing.
Hey, this is what people ask for. I'm gonna drop one. Oh, Ducati, go first.
No, go ahead.
I'm gonna make a prediction. I know this is way too early, but Georgia will have, at the very worst, a second team All-American at all 3 levels of the defense.
I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this where we get to say outlandish things?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, if you'd like.
Well, I want to say an outlandish thing.
Ooh.
I would bet money right now on Carson Beck winning a Heisman Trophy.
I like it, but I don't like it at the same time.
I can't follow that. I don't have anything more outlandish than that.
Yeah, you do.
See, here's the thing. That's not outlandish because I think he might be the best quarterback in football. I just don't know that Georgia has the system that's going to allow him to put up the numbers. But I love that you have the faith in him.
Well, I think that we will be in some games. So let me justify this. We got Texas, we got Alabama, and we got Ole Miss, right?
Right.
We have the 3 rivalry games that Matt was talking about, right? Mm-hmm. We also have a Kentucky on there, right? And we also have a Clemson on there on that schedule, right? So that's 8 games out of our on our slate, right? That are going to be 8 of the 12 that are going to be fights. We're going to be in fights.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Carson's going to be playing deep into those games. So I don't think he's going to be, sitting on the sideline sucking on an orange in the third quarter. Is what I'm trying to say.
Well, keep in mind, last year, I know it was last year, Ole Miss was supposed to give us a dogfight, and we absolutely skull fucked them.
Sure. And when we get to predictions, I'm going to say things like that, too,
I listen. Ole Miss is last year. They were a completely different team when they were home and when they were on the road. Right, so obviously, new year, new situations. They loaded up on defense through the portal. We'll see what happens there, right?
Yeah, I think your prediction can hold true because if it depends on the voting public, right? Because they get sentimental with numbers and stuff like that. But if you are telling me a quarterback runs the gamut of the schedule that you just talked about, goes 12-0 on the regular season, and beat all those teams, and then has. I mean, obviously, to win those games, you're going to have good numbers. I think he could be right in the driver's seat. I don't think that's more outlandish than me saying that ETN's going to go for 1,000 yards, but
No, maybe not. Maybe not.
I think your pick is safer than mine.
Guys, let's do this.
Maybe.
Before we get to our next batch of predictions and takes, things like that.
Oh, wait, hold on. He's got one.
Oh, sorry, Ducati. Sorry.
Chop liver.
He's like, I'm not even here.
Where they at? No. Sorry.
I got the one of the night. We're going to prove all these naysayers wrong, these talking heads. I'll say it now. From a sentimental perspective, yes, we will miss them. From a production standpoint, compared to last year, we will not miss Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. We will do better.
Ooh.
My man Delp, Rara, Dominic, Colby, and anybody else you want to throw out there, including my man Michael Jackson III, who will moonwalk for us this year. Carson Beck will have a bigger year now than he had last year.
Interesting.
All right, let's see here. I'm going to read some comments here. So
get
apparently,
that last one from Tamil.
Harry Leggy is laughing, but he says young secondary needs time to develop. I think you saw development last season. People can hate on this all they want, and you can hate on me if you want to. I'm telling you right now, Dalen Everett's been tested, and I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be more than fine this year. You have to understand the context around this, though. Last year, it was trial by fire with him because Kamari Lassiter shut shit down every week consistently.
Yep, I completely agree with that, Robert. I mean, we can talk about everything that Dalen did, everything he gave up, but boy, he was sure put in the fire.
So let's talk about this too. Tanil brings up a good point. Tanil says she doesn't like Kentucky being the week before Bama. The real trick to this season will be staying healthy. Yeah, and that's in reference to Kentucky being an extremely physical team. Kentucky in years past has been our just weakness because we get beat up so bad. Win the games, right? The scoreboard shows ass whippings, but your health, right, is just gets depleted. This is where depth is going to be so key. Also, after Kentucky, you do get a bye. So you do have the option or the luxury of a bye week before Bama. So I will say that. And really, Georgia's bye weeks kind of work well because you have one before Bama and then one after Texas. So you kind of benefited your bye weeks, if you will. But no, that's good. That was a good comment there. I think that's a good one. You know what, though? In all seriousness, I think that will test Georgia really well. It'll give us a good test because, let's be honest, I think you're going to have a bona fide first-round pick in Deion Walker, and you've got Pop Johnson there now too. It may not be – I say this right now. In year one, it might not be such a problem. But Brock Vandegrift in year one, like I said, might not be such a problem. But year two, come 2025, yeah, he can be a problem. I'm just gonna let that be known. I think he could be.
I'm already thinking he's a problem now. Like we wanted Brock. We had Brock, and I've seen what Kentucky's put on the field the past couple of years. You know, with Will Levis and whatnot. You know, and I think that Brock is every bit as good as that, and possibly even a little bit better than that. So I'm a believer in Brock.
You're scared of him if you're Florida, because that's going to be what, 4 in a row?
Yeah, they can't beat. Yeah, that's right.
You're over here talking about three-peats for national championships. Florida's about to put up a 3-peat for a losing season and a possible 4-peat losing to the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah.
We've got first world problems, guys. It can always be worse.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
Shit. Yeah. But no, I think that was good. There's a good point to bring up as well. I mean, Kentucky's going to show you physicality. I mean, they're going to do that. Now, they don't have Ray Davis anymore, so their offense is a question. And it's not a bad thing. I think it's just going to be something that it's a different dynamic on how you approach the offense. Defense, they're going to be physical. So you have to offensive line. You've got to be able to sit there and just come ready, come prepared, and expect the dogfight, because I think it's in Kentucky too. So so Georgia, that stretch. Tanil's got a point. You go to Kentucky, then you got a bye week before going to Tuscaloosa.
The other thing that you guys are failing to bring up is that Kirby Smart loves to fight with Mark Stoops.
Mm-hmm.
He loves to get in a phone booth with that man, and it has cost us. It has gotten us chewed up in the past. Is it possible that we could go out and pop wheelies on them all night long?
Yes,
It's
because of
possible.
what I told you. Delp, that guy from Stanford, Rah, Dylan Bell, Dominic Lovett.
I just don't know if Kirby wants to. I don't think he wants to play the game that way,
know he
and
don't
he hasn't shown me that he wants to do that.
I know he don't
You know.
want to, but Mike Bubble, listen. What did we average last year? Was it 4? Were we above 40 points a game?
40
Yeah,
plus.
it was 40. It was like 40 point something, I think.
Add some to it.
I'll look at it this way. We've got some over-unders, and I'm going to let Dan start us off here. I want Dan to be the first one to reach out to these. So I'm going to share our over-unders sent by Mr. Hightoff here.
Okay.
I'm going to read them out, and then Dan's going to be the first one. So
Oh, we just go one
over-unders.
at a time because I'll forget them all. All right, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, we got it right here. So we'll read it off. Michael Williams for the regular season only. Okay, this does not include the playoffs. Michael Williams, over or under 6.5 sacks?
I'm going over.
Going over. Ducati, what about you?
Over.
Mitch?
He may have that. He may have that by midseason.
He might have that 3 or 4 games
man.
into
If
the
he
season.
does,
Am I-
if
am I
he
gonna
does
be-
what we need him to do, he might have that. Shit, Mitch, when will he have it?
Hold on a minute. Robert, you've seen our show. You know that Matt is always the cloud to my silver lining, right? I cannot. Why did you switch us on the screen, man? You should have left me over there. Freaking Ducati's going to take over, and I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know.
Okay.
Mark it down. Write it down. I'm going to be the cloud this time, and I'll take the under. I'll be the odd man out. All right. So I want him to do well. I want the production to be there. That's all I'm saying.
Let me tell you why that's an easy number, because Georgia's going to have a lead on a lot of teams. It's going to force them to pass and then allow the Georgia pass rush to pin their ears and go after the quarterback. So, when you're on a team where you're in a lot of dogfights and they can play, they can mix it up. Yeah, that's harder to get those numbers. But when Georgia gets a lead, other teams have to pass. That just makes it easier.
And
I hear you, and your logic is sound.
But you're not thinking about the meta. You saw what I saw at the spring game. This is a specimen. This man picked up Roderick Robinson and threw him around like a sack of laundry.
That also wasn't a sack. That was a tackle.
Yeah,
right.
well,
But that's a specimen who can move to sack. Ain't nobody else in the country that I can name off the top of my head going to pick up Big O, the new Big O, and toss him around like a sack of laundry. And can move like that.
If given the opportunity and a clean opportunity, I'd say Deion Walker.
Okay, so there's one.
Okay, Robert. What about you, brother? You over or under on this?
I'm going to go under, and I'll tell you why. And you can hate all.
Tell you why.
Absolutely. Now, listen, there's too many edge rushers that are pure pass rushers in this defense. I love Michael Williams, and I know he's going to get numbers, but my question is this to y'all. Is he better at run support, or is he better at pass rush?
We're going to find out.
I'm just glad that he's pretty good at both of those things.
Find out.
The move to Jack will help this out. I promise you. I think it'll be beneficial for there. I'm just going to let that be known. I just think that Dan, DJ Kiley saying Dan's smart. Yeah, he is. He's really low-key smart. He's the smartest one here. No, I look at it this way. Jalen Walker, Damon Wilson, Sam Mpemba, those three guys right there, if given the opportunity to pin their ears back, you're probably going to see them in situational pass rush situations. Ducati, you talked about that, right? George getting up on games and then pinning their ears back. Oh, Dan did. My bad. Dan, keep in mind Jalen Walker's got to find a niche in that defense. You've got to get Damon Wilson some opportunities. There's your opportunities. I look at him as a first, second down, third and short, third and medium, run support, disruptor. He can do it all, but I think you're going to see he's going to be excellent in run support and edge play. Okay, edge play is where I'm looking at it the most.
Would you say, Robert, then that you expect sacks overall to be up? this year, but
I
more
would say
evenly distributed.
I'm gonna say Havoc plays are up.
Okay.
Havoc plays are up.
Well,
I
I'm here
think
for that. So.
the reason why I'm under is this. I think you'll see him get 6. We haven't
Yeah.
you haven't understand we haven't had a 10 plus sack guy in several years. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just thinking of where I'm at right now. That's all. Listen, I think he'll be disruptive, and he's going to be an impact player. There's no question about it. Harry Leggett says Clemson game, their offensive line sucks. You know what? Low key making me rethink this. All right, keep it serious.
Here's
Their
the
offensive
thing.
line is trash.
All right, so but we need to keep going, but at the same time, like 6.5 is not a huge number. Like if you set it at 12, I would go under. But 6.5 is a small number. All he needs is one game where he gets 2 or 3, and then you're telling me he's not going to get another 3 in 11 games? Come on.
Fair. No, I mean, the way I'm looking at it too is this. I mean, you have to understand. You have to understand too that the amount of rotation and things like that. There's so many games where certain guys have big games. Not again, if he gets over 6, I'll be glad to be wrong. I just think that I look
absolutely,
at him
absolutely.
All right, next one, gentlemen.
Everybody in the 4 squares here wins if he does 6 or 8.
Absolutely.
Everybody here wins.
We're all winners in this game. So we got Georgia. 11.5 wins. Do the Dogs go undefeated or do they lose a game?
This is where our roles reverse right here. Let's see.
What are you talking about?
They're going to lose one game. I feel like they're going to lose one game, so I'll go under. And again, to steal your line, I'll be happy to be wrong.
Mm-hmm. So Matthew, we know where you're headed with this.
No, you don't. I ain't said nothing. You go on ahead though.
I will go over.
I breathed and said, "Man, that's all I said."
I will go over.
What are you, Nostradamus? Go ahead.
Yeah. We are going to go undefeated this year.
I'm gonna.
We will freaking earn it if we go undefeated. We will freaking earn it.
If absolutely agree and absolutely understand all. However, 12-0.
If you go 12-0 in the regular season, win the SEC championship, and then playoffs and win a national championship, there's no question this is one of the best teams in history.
Sure.
Good Lord. Ducati, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going under. I think we drop one. And that's not because we don't have the best team in the country and possibly one of the best. It goes back to what we just said a few minutes ago. This is going to be a grueling.
It's a hell of a schedule.
3 of them on the road. I said it earlier in the show. We're talking about attrition. We're talking about health. Do we lose that one guy at that one time who would lay out that one play that would have got us over the hump? Now our opponents have to deal with the same thing. I don't know, man. I don't know that anybody's going to get in the SEC an undefeated regular season, maybe ever again. It's just set up that way. There's too much now.
My question is,
go ahead.
Which one do you think he's going to lose? I think it's Texas. Is that the one you think?
Well, okay. I don't know. Here's what I'll say. Take these 3 teams. Bama, Texas, Ole Miss. One will drop, but no more than one.
Yeah, I think it's Texas. I just think for whatever reason, I think Texas is going to get – I think they want to make a big first impression. Anyway.
Kurt, I want you to understand this too, Dan. I want you to understand this. One, I'm going to give you 2 points to this. I don't think it's Texas, and I'll tell you 2 reasons. One, I don't trust their secondary. They lost a lot. 2, Kirby Smart has a vendetta against them from that Sugar Bowl. Kobe Pierce will tell you that. He will be out for blood that game.
And to piggyback on your point, I didn't mean to interrupt. Kirby's also – you don't think he's got a vendetta against how we've performed against Alabama? I think you can probably take those 2 off the board. I think it's like that Ole Miss situation that sneaks out. What they said they were going to do last year, and
y'all don't want to hear this.
In their house, they squeak one out, like Kiffin squeaked one out against Tennessee. Remember, like he squeaked one out against some other teams. I think like in the realm of we need all of our might at this point in the season to overcome this offensive guy. We just don't have enough to do it. Somebody's hurt.
Keep in mind, the past few years when Georgia's had that kind of matchup outside of the SEC title game when Saban's in Atlanta, they have stepped up and dominated.
True.
The problem is no one's talking about this, but why not? Why are we not talking about the possibility for a trap game after Bama when you host Auburn and Hugh Freeze?
Because
Yes,
Auburn
I
sucks.
think we win that game, but you have to keep your eyes open for that game.
but they sucked last year.
They
sucked
still got
last-
paid, dude. They
and
still got
it
Peyton
took
Thorne.
everything we had to survive.
Mhm.
And if
No.
you remember, if you're and you do because you guys are Georgia fans and you followed the history of that rivalry, there was a time when the away team was a pencil in for the win. That was a thing.
Well, more so at Jordan Hare.
Like
Like,
it's not
crazy
out-
shit.
I've
You
told
don't know how
you,
crazy
I've
shit
been
happens there.
texting people who will listen. Like, I'm not saying Auburn is good. I'm saying watch out for Auburn because some of the pieces they've pulled in, some of the receivers they've pulled in, some of the moves they've made. It's a recipe for if they got nothing to lose and we're just going to throw the book at everybody. That's not the team that you want.
I'm not saying that we lose to Auburn. I'm just saying to watch out because
Yeah.
if you go to Tuscaloosa and you beat Alabama and say you beat them handily, potentially, are you going to be on such a high that you drop down? Or might I add, will Auburn pull what they did against Alabama last year and legitimately sit there and sell their soul to try to beat you?
It's a legitimate concern.
Like, let's be honest. You got to remember, they got their shit pushed in at home by New Mexico State to then play a fourth and 31. Only thing that beat them.
Is there a situation where we in November know we're in the playoffs already?
I mean, I think
What
Kirby.
matter?
I don't see Kirby Smart doing that though, man. I think you got to
He's already
get.
talked about it. That's a quote. They're already talking. The coaches are talking about sportsmanship and how are we going to practice different and how are we going to play different. If you know you're in, you know it. It's done. It's a done deal. He talked about Dog Nation daily.
That's fair. I just think that whenever Kirby Smart decides to go full out hunt mode for all season, you're going to see one of the best seasons in statistical history if he wants to do it. I know what you're saying. I mean, Harry says it best. He said, "Don't get me wrong, our dogs could make history again." As far as my answer, everyone answered already. Yeah. We'll kind of speed through this. So we've been kind of going for a while, just sitting here talking our points. I think I'm going to go under. I just think that there's going to be a game where you do slip up. I think you handle the big three, but I think there's just a game where you might slip up.
Okay.
Don't know.
We got
Yeah,
under, and I'm over.
Yeah. So next one we have Carson Beck, 3,400 yards passing. I'm going over.
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 All right, quickly done that. Trevor Etienne, 1,300 yards from scrimmage. That means passing and rushing combined.
Well, if I say he goes for 1,000 rushing, I guess I have to go over.
I'm going under. I'm going under.
Too much rotation at Georgia.
Yeah,
Running back
you're all right. I just have to stick to my guns.
You know what, Dan? I'm gonna go with you, brother. I'll
Yeah.
I'll go
Yes.
with you.
Welcome aboard, brother.
Harry did say over as well. So, I mean, I'd love to see it. I ain't gonna lie. I'd love to see it happen against Florida.
Yeah.
Defense, 10.5 interceptions. That's high for me. I'm going under.
And we're just talking about 12-game season, right?
Regular season only.
All right. 10.5 and 12 games. Man, that's high.
That's all.
Dang.
That's
high.
I was about to say,
Where
that's
did
almost
that
a
number
pick
come
game.
from?
High tough. High tough.
All right.
You're averaging almost a pick per game.
I'm going to say under, but I'm going to Google right now how many they had last year.
I don't think it was 10.5. I think it's probably like 9 or 10. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but whatever.
You know, Dan is right. Okay,
While you're doing
I'm going to go under, but here's why. here's why I'm going to do that. I know that Dan was saying earlier that a lot of teams are going to be passing. We're going to be ahead, and their teams are going to be passing more opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. I think there's too many games that we're going to be still fighting late in the game. How many do we have last year?
14.
Ooh.
And so you take Kamari Lassiter off the board.
Why would you? Yeah. Oh yeah. You take Kamari, but you. Okay. Oh, keep in mind. Hold on. See. I think Dan. I think you're onto something here. Think about this. The teams that we're playing on the road, if you look at this, if you take Quinn Ewers and Jackson Dart, a lot of their plays come off of play action. That tells me they can hit deep passes. Jalen Milroe is a deep specialist. That gives opportunity for your safeties and or corners to do that, right? Now the question is, what does our defensive line play look like? Because if we can get disruption in the interior and on the D line, that number will change because of that. If you get to the quarterback more, obviously interceptions, they can still happen, but there might be less. I'm going under. So we're pulling this back up. See, he said it was 13. Sorry, excuse me, 10 and a half interceptions. I think I'm going to go over. I think you get like 11 or 12.
So you say you take Kamari Lassiter off. You know how many Kamari Lassiter had last year?
No, he didn't have none.
0.
He had one. Oh, it was 0. He had 0. I mean, nobody threw his way. Nobody fucking threw his way. Well, who had the most? It was Tyke.
Yeah, Tyke had 4.
Yeah.
Starks had
3.
Well,
so you take Kamari, you take Tyke, you take Bullard, you take them all off. Is another point. So it's like, my argument is, it's not like we're more likely to get interceptions with those guys off the field. You know what I mean?
I go under. I mean, it's still
10 and a half. So you're going under.
I think I have to go under as well.
I'm going to go over at like 11, just cracking it barely. I think that's still good. You're going to understand that's still good if that happens too. I mean,
I think if the line were 9.5, I might take over.
Well, think about it this way. Look, think about this. Teams on the road, the teams that we're playing on the road, Ole Miss and they're going to throw the ball and test our secondary. It's not a situation where you have guys that have been tested that gives them more opportunities to do stuff. What I need to see is our secondary make plays on the ball, because we didn't see that as much in the G-Day. What we saw was guys in place, but their head wasn't around, or they just didn't go for the ball in time. So if they can do that, and they're going to be given more opportunities around as a collective, there is a chance for that to go over.
So my question mark is not about the play of the defensive backs. My question mark is the play about those play of the havoc makers, right? And I know you say and you believe that like it's going to be there. I'm just saying I haven't seen it yet. You know, it goes back to my Michael Williams argument earlier. You know, so I'd be happy to be wrong about that. But I think that the interceptions come from as a result of havoc, right?
Yeah, I can see that.
So I need that to be. That's the only question mark I have for the whole team.
Yeah, I think there's there's going to be some context that needs to be presented anyway. Last one, I think it is Dominic Lovett, 8.5 touchdown receptions. Oh, buddy, I know we got a lot of deep. Our receiving core is deep. Tight end room is deep. But I think Dom Lovett is going to be the guy this year in that receiving core.
Yeah, over.
How many did he have last year?
I wouldn't look at it that way. I would look. You got to understand the other.
I feel like it's kind of high though.
He only had like 3 or 4, I think.
Takes a year. I'm telling you.
I know.
Takes a year to get fully acclimated.
I think
Dominic Lovett had 4 last year.
Boom.
Yeah.
I think the number's there. I think it was 8.5.
So here's. I think he's close. I think he's close. I think Dominic Lovett's going to do most of his damage between the 10s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As I think he's going to get. I think he'll be the leading receiver for yardage and receptions. I think he may not have the most touchdowns, which might jeopardize him. Because if you're, I don't know, man, that's tough.
He's such a yak guy that he can make guys miss and go. If you hear me out, if you get this year, if you get a Missouri Dominic Lovett, that number's getting crushed.
Are you covering up the label? Why are you covering up the label?
Because I ain't getting paid.
Oh, I got you.
Hold on.
Wait,
what am I missing? What did I miss?
Don't worry about it. Keep talking about Dom Lovett. He saw. We ain't getting paid for that. They don't need to see that on
the only downfall for me to go over on this is the fact that we can, depending on situations, see a guy like Rara or see a guy like Colby Young be utilized in a way to, in the red zone. And you still got Delp, you still got Lawson Lucky, Jurasik is coming in. There's so many weapons there that it makes me wonder how that plays out. Dan, you said it perfect. I generally think too, you're going to see him get a ton of fucking yards. A lot of it being in between the 20s and or in between the 20s. Once you do that right there, the whole dynamic of the field changes. Is he going to be able to do that? For the sake of this and try to speed this up, I'm going to say over to be optimistic. My heart tells me no, it's going to be lower, but I think I'm going to go with over on that one.
Oh man, I think I have to take the under for reasons you just said. I don't see him as a red zone threat. I see Delp and Colby Young, those guys more red zone threats. So I feel like
what if I told you this though? What if I told you you didn't need the red zone for him to score your touchdowns?
Bro, hold on. Like you're talking about this guy going for 9 touchdowns from 20 plus yards. Like, come on, you're asking a lot. You're asking a lot. I mean, you're talking about like top 5 pick in the NFL draft type of guy.
Well, keep in mind, I'm not saying it's always going to be everything outside the red zone. I'm not going to say that. But if he's on a hot stretch, there's an easy way that you can get a couple touchdowns per game. Just saying.
Talk about the Falcons receivers. They ain't got nobody going over fucking 10. So
I mean, we ain't talking about the Falcons. This ain't the Falcons talk.
I mean, Julio Jones spent the whole season with 1 touchdown.
No, definitely not the Falcons. All right. But no, to your point, though, if it goes under, it would not surprise me just because of the rotation and how I feel we're pretty deep at receiver / tight end. Heavy rotation. But I think if Dom Lovett has that type of season and becomes that X factor, Mike Bobo will get his best players the ball, and that means more opportunities for Dom Lovett. So it can go either way on that. Guys, other than that, that's all the over-unders we've got. Anybody want to have a final prediction, any final hot takes before we wrap this thing up for the night?
In the post-COVID world / NIL portal world, there is only one standard. There is only one team. And that is the Georgia Bulldogs. No one's done it better. No one's been that, and that is the line of demarcation for me.
I got a bold take.
You go beyond the masks and the portal and the NIL back to those days. But in the world we're living in now, there is no question. The team we all root for is that team. And
question for you.
And I think we're gonna snatch another natty and make it 3 in the last 4.
I've got a question for Dan. Dan, I know college and NFL is completely different from how they're scoring and obviously stuff. Would it be a hot take if I felt like Georgia tripled the total amount of points scored than the Falcons this year?
Yeah, that's a ridiculously hot take because they play 17 games.
I know.
That's funny as shit, though. I would laugh like hell if it happened. But,
well, hey, listen.
All right.
If it's a full season, you never know what Georgia could do.
So, I pulled up the stats because I was trying to find out the interceptions number. We had 1 pick 6 last year. We had 1 pick 6. Is any guesses who had it?
Hold on. It was almost Nazir Stackhouse.
It was almost Nazir Stackhouse. That's immediately where my mind went.
I have no idea who this player is.
Hold on, don't.
1 pick 6 last year.
I know
you said, right?
This, Matt. This is the one that you and I were like, "Who the heck is this guy?"
Is it Terrell Foster?
Was it in FSU? Was it against FSU?
I've just got the PDF of Georgia's stats and info pulled up, so I don't know.
Because in FSU, we put the players out. We started pulling people from the stands.
There was a conversation that you and I had
on the back of their jersey. Where I was like, Mitch, what are we doing? Is this like?
Do you want his initials? Would that help?
Yeah.
Try it. Yeah.
KJ.
Kyron Jones.
Yes, it nailed it.
Yeah.
Smartest guy in the building.
I forgot about.
That was
Oh,
it.
that's
I
right.
have no
That was
idea who that is.
I remember
was
when I remember
Kyron
talking
Jones.
to Matt, and he was like,
like his first play too. That was like one
he
of his
was like,
first plays.
who is Kyron Jones? I thought I don't have any idea. I never heard that man's name in my life.
When did that happen?
That happened against. Didn't it happen against like Miss? No, that wasn't Mississippi State. That was like a
Hold on,
cupcake
man.
game. That was a cupcake game.
I was just shocked
Either
it was
way.
the only pick six we had.
That rings
I
a
think
bell.
I think we're gonna
was
have more than one pick six.
Over UT Martin. It was Martin.
That's it.
You hear
Because it was in
UT
like
Martin.
fourth quarter, third or fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was happy. He's from North Carolina product too, up here in Charlotte area too. That's a fun situation. I'm glad you brought that up though, man. I'm glad you brought that up. That was one pick six. Holy shit, that's crazy.
I would like to see more defensive touchdowns. That would be, or excuse me, non-offensive touchdowns. I'll say that. I'd like to see more of that.
Wasn't there
Hold
a
on.
narrative that we wasn't there a narrative last year that we suffered in takeaways that our plus minus wasn't good?
Guys,
Wasn't
guys,
that a narrative, or am I making that up?
is this the year? We preach it. Is this the year that we get a special teams touchdown? And what I mean by that is a punt or kick return. I think Anthony Evans could do it.
He could.
He is
I mean, we got-
explosive. It's not Makai Muse anymore, folks. It is not Makai Muse anymore.
Teams touchdown in 21. We had at least one special teams touchdown in 21, and
I'm
we had
talking
one.
about
We had one in 22 as
punt.
well.
Keep in mind, a punt or a kick return? Are we sure? Isaiah McKenzie was the last one that I remember.
Nope, we had a blocked punt against Arkansas
what I was
that
talking
resulted
about.
in touchdown. Yeah, but hey, it's a special teams touchdown.
What about the
I
one against
was-
LSU that we
and,
blocked the field goal and they were too stupid?
Block
to
that we had a
live
field
ball?
goal block that was returned by Chris Smith against LSU. And then
But I was trying to be specific. So I was being specific in the
Come on,
fact
I
that
know,
it's
I know.
one of
I'm
those-
running that
You
through my
looking
head.
for- Robert's looking for-
Makai Muse had he had his
Yeah.
punt return touchdown.
I
Hold
think
on.
this is-
Let me ask you this: could Anthony Evans be the best returner we had since Brandon Boykin?
I think so.
I think Isaiah McKenzie would probably be better though, man.
You think he's better than Boykin?
No. I'm saying I
Oh.
think I'm saying Isaiah McKenzie will probably, in my opinion, it'll take a lot for Anthony to be better than Isaiah to me.
Show me. I'd love to see it.
Yeah,
No,
me too.
exactly. I'm just saying.
I don't. Hey, listen. I guess in fairness, the best kick returner we've ever had was a guy named Todd Gurley.
Stun on them hoes. TG3, stun on them hoes. Let's be
Before,
serious.
before we get off of here, Robert, and I do need to do that soon, but I wanted to bring up
Holy
with
shit, it's almost
everybody.
midnight.
I had a those of you who watch our show have heard me talk about this before. Every year, my son and I go out on the out front first game of the season, and we raise the Georgia flag up. You know, we have a little flagpole in the yard. My freaking flagpole blew down. Not blew down, it snapped in half. My metal flagpole was sawed off by the wind. So I no longer have a flagpole.
You need a new, you need a new one.
Right,
Oh, man.
There's 36 inches of concrete down there that has a little nub of a flagpole sticking out of the top.
I got, you know what?
Oh, so
Speaking
you
of-
have a proper flagpole? You don't have one
an
hanging?
actual flagpole, bro.
That's freaking awesome.
And the
I'm gonna do
wind
that.
snapped.
I'm gonna do that so my HOA gets pissed. You
I'm
just
just telling you,
inspired
man.
me.
My neighbor, I heard a rumor from my neighbor's daughter-in-law, who I work across the hall from, you know, and she said, "Yeah, my father-in-law was." He said there was some weird guy, and he's got some weird flag. He thinks he might be like a white power type, you know, because I have a red flag with a black and white G, and he thought I had like some freaking Nazi flag flying out front of the house.
Oh, no, dude, you know what?
This is a Penn State country,
Well,
right? They
see-
have no idea what's going on.
Where do you live?
I live in,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. I live
What
on the
part?
banks of the Susquehanna River between
the
Williams.
foothills.
Dude, hold on. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. It's been a while, guys. I went up to Lancaster for some work.
Oh,
Took
joy.
took
Lancaster.
Lancaster.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
It's
Took
Lane
took a,
kissed her.
Yep. I
Jesus
work in
Christ.
professional
Ole
baseball. I'm
Miss,
familiar.
Ole Miss joke here. Regardless, no, seriously. Went up and visited Penn State. Beautiful place. Susquehanna. Beautiful drive up. Beautiful drive.
You drove up the Susquehanna River.
Mm-hmm.
What do
I
you
went
think that
past
comes
Harris.
from?
I can't see it.
My
I thought
wife
it was
my
a
wife
T-shirt the whole time.
yeah, a lot of people do, but my wife teaches at Susquehanna University, so this is Susquehanna
awesome.
athletics. Yeah, Riverhawks,
Wait,
go Riverhawks,
dude.
baby.
Dude, check this out. Dan, you're in Georgia. This is different for you. For me, this is everything. I have a Georgia fan that's a neighbor 2 doors down. Yes, sir.
I got a
I
whole
was-
damn neighborhood full.
Oh shit.
It's you know what's better, Dan, is when I'm getting gas, like just pumping gas down at the 7-Eleven down here, right? And
Right.
then I'm just getting my gas, and it's like 27 degrees outside, and all of a sudden I hear somebody on a car going by, "Go Dogs!"
Nice.
It's such a beautiful
I'm like,
thing.
"Oh,
Dude, when you're not
Hey, how close to a Wawa are you?
I am
we're in Sheets
exactly-
They're
country.
Sheets country.
Sheets,
Sheets
that's
country.
right. Sheets country. My bad.
Yeah, but let's see.
Matt's in Wawa country.
I am probably 12 miles.
I mean,
Well,
you'd have to go
hold on.
across the river. I'm
Oh,
on the
so you're a big
west
fan of
west of
Tasty
the
Cakes?
Susquehanna. Yeah. We got Middlesworth potato
La-
chips, sticky buns, whoopie pies,
But
Birch
how-
beer.
Next time we convene and we have time to talk about it to the audience, we're going to tell you about the Shady Maple Acre buffet.
How about Lancaster? Well, you need to go to the
Lancaster.
Shady Maple. The Shady Maple
downtown-
The
buffet.
Shady Maple buffet was what,
Wait.
Mitch, about what, 70 yards worth of food? 70 real yards worth
It was
of food?
it was 7 first downs worth of
You
cat.
didn't
lunch.
see the other end of the buffet. You can't see it.
Yeah.
You're like, damn,
Lanc-
there's the buffet. Damn, that's just like a Subway.
Woo, that sounds like
Lancaster,
some place I want to visit.
Lancaster is the only place that in the downtown of a city smells like horse shit.
Let me welcome you to beautiful downtown Sealands Grove, Pennsylvania. We
Oh,
got out of the
Amish
car
country,
today. I was
baby.
like, man, what is that? Yeah,
Oh,
it is.
boy.
It is hard
Pure
Amish
Amish.
country right here.
You saw-
We keep the
saw a
Amish on
buggy.
the other side of that mountain. over
Have you
there.
been to a Barnstormers game?
No, we're in Crosscutters country. We
Okay.
are so the Williamsport Crosscutters. That's and then you can go down to Harrisburg, like on City Island. There's the team that plays down there, and they are called the Generals. What are they called? Look it up. They play in Harrisburg.
That's
So
interesting.
we're halfway between Harrisburg and Williamsport.
Sheets, I will say Sheets is better than Wawa. I've been to Jersey where in Wawa country, Sheets is
Wawa.
better than Wawa.
Oh, you's a hoe.
So
I'll fight
here's
you
the
over
thing.
them sandwiches, boy. It's Wawa
I
subs
think-
got public subs on the run.
Wawa.
Oh,
I
the
think it's
run.
worth clarifying. I think it's worth clarifying that both of them have value. It depends on what you're looking for, right? So
I
if you're
still-
looking for a sub, the answer is Wawa. But you can go to Sheets and get 500 different sodas, right? There's
I'm
just,
just gonna let this be known too. I'm gonna let this be known. Listen, ain't a Sheets or a Wawa touching Bojangles, baby. What's
No, that's the
up?
fact. That's
You
the fact.
can't have a gas station versus an actual restaurant.
Guess what?
I mean,
Hold on, wait a minute, hold on.
that's like trying to say Bone Steakhouse is better than my grill. I mean, come on.
It's better than
Ask
Jiffy
me
Lube.
how many fucks I give about that. I'm just saying, but it's always bow tie.
Here,
All
do
right.
this though, Robert. Listen, and next time you get a chance to drive through a Sheets, go on and get you that big bucket of jalapeno poppers, bro. You will,
Dude, they're
not
mac and cheese
regret it.
bites. Sorry, mac and cheese bites.
Mm.
One last
Mm.
question, guys. We've been going for an hour and a half. One
Holy
last
shit.
question. We got to do it for our guy from Hawaii. Got to do
Okay,
this.
what's up?
Who is
Aloha,
way too
Mike.
early? Yes. So we'll do this one question and we're going to wrap it up very briefly. Who is the way too early top 12 teams for the playoff? One, Georgia. I think you're going to look from the SEC. Georgia.
Yeah.
I think Bama. I'm looking at, I think maybe Ole Miss. I'm going to go Ole Miss. Texas. I think you get 4 there. I think Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Oregon.
Mm.
Maybe not Penn State. Actually, no. Ohio
Say
State.
definitely
Mich-
on Oregon though.
Ohio State, Ohio State and Oregon. I think Michigan.
Mm.
I
heard
think
this-
Michigan will still be good, other than Ohio State. I
I
think they
think
can
Penn
lose to
State's
Ohio State this year.
going to take. I think Penn State takes Michigan down this year.
Okay,
Uh,
so then you've got.
if I had to
think
take
you've
3
got
out of the Big Ten, I'm taking Ohio State, I'm taking Penn State, and I'm taking Oregon. I think
Oregon.
Those would be
Okay,
my
so that's
Big Tens.
seven.
7.
ACC.
I wanna
So
take
ACC, you're looking
Florida
at.
State. I'm taking
Are you looking
Florida
at
State there.
Clemson?
I'm
Not for
considering
playoffs.
Clemson, but I'm taking Florida State for sure. So that's 8. You got to take somebody out of the Big 12, which will probably be
Utah,
Oh, okay, sure, fair enough.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, maybe, yeah.
Well, I've got my
Probably.
list. We did it on my show. I can run it down.
Run through it. Run through it. I'll take your word for it.
This is 1 through. So I had UGA at 1, Ohio State at 2, Texas at 3, Oregon at 4, Ole Miss at 5, Notre Dame at 6, Penn State at 7, Alabama at 8, Missouri at 9, LSU at 10, and then I had Utah at 11, and I had I don't know why I don't have a 12th one. I had 11. I don't know.
It's got to be an FCS school. It's got to be a group of 5.
Yeah, that was the other thing. I was trying to go through those. James Madison, maybe.
Yes, give me James Madison. I am sold on James Madison until they prove to me otherwise. I'm just going to let that be known. They've been killing it since they moved up, but it's a rule, but I don't like it. The fact that you have to wait 2 years to do anything with it. But give me James. I'll take James Madison. I think James Madison can be real good now. So, but yeah, that's our top 12 guys. Guys, with that being said, Ducati, Mitch, where can they find your show, my guy?
In the past.
In the past.
In the annals of history.
Well, look. Let's. I'm hoping to be able to get back to it. I hope that we'll be able to do that for this season. But you can look us up on Facebook, Field of Streams, and you can also look us up on YouTube with the same thing, Field of Streams. And Matt and I have a show called Behind the Hedges, and we'll get back to it. It's just for various reasons we had to take a little bit of a hiatus and let Michigan win them a championship.
And I'm
So
sad
it's our fault.
because I actually have a wonderful singing voice, as Robert can attest to,
Yes,
including
true.
my immortal classic cover of Cher's Turn Back Time. If you haven't seen it, go on back and turn back time, pull up that show, and see
That
what
was
it was
good.
all about and who it was about.
That was good. Yeah, that shit was good though. Other than that, Dan Kiley, they know where to find you if I'm not mistaken.
Top Dog Talk is back at it every Tuesday, 7:30.
There you go. Him and Mr. Kiley and Harrison Reno. H from the 2. With that being said, guys, that is all we've got for tonight. Hope y'all enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, rate, and review. Listen, can't do it without you. Thanks for all of the brigade leaving us comments and talking throughout the show. We enjoy it. We appreciate it. With that being said, everybody have a great Memorial Day weekend. Everybody
Yes, sir. Happy Memorial Day. Thanks, everybody.
Please make sure to understand the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. That's all I'm going to say.
For sure.
Happy Memorial Day, and go Dogs.
Go
Go
Dogs.
Dogs.